Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris, man. As always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I thought I would post a video. It's pretty interesting because we all can say this as we get older because nothing stays the same. And you remember when things were this way, now they're this way, which is better, or this way, which is worse. And I'm going to call this some things that I thought I would never see in my lifetime. And number one is paying for water. Because I'm like, I don't even really like water, so why I got to pay for water? You know, because when you're a kid, or when I was a kid, you know, you got your water out the tap. But now I haven't had any tap water in almost 20 years. You know, I buy my water exclusively. I don't drink anything out of that faucet, even though I'm sure it's still safe. But the bottled water tends to taste better. So I never thought that I would live to see the day where you're paying for water, you know, but things change. Number two, the internet. Actually, the internet within itself, you know, a area or something that you can communicate with people all around the world. And unfortunately, I had to tack this onto it. Grown ass men trolling on the internet. You know, grown men with nothing to do, sending out negative comments, picking on you when you shouldn't be picked on because you're not bothering anybody, but they decide they want to come on your channel, start talking shit and posting crazy ass shit, and you got to block them, you know. And that's just so unfortunate because it's different with the kids, teenagers. I give them a little slack because they're teenagers. They haven't developed yet. That thing sitting on top of their neck called a brain hasn't fully developed yet. So you're going to do some dumb stuff throughout the years until you get older and mature. And you're like, oh, okay. I ain't going to do that stuff no more because that's kind of childish. Shouldn't have done it in the first place, but I didn't know any better. But grown-ass men, you know, doing this kind of stuff, it's like, come on, man, really? Go find something to do, you know? Number three, cell phone. And never have to pay for long distance again. Because when I was a kid, there was no such thing as a cell phone. And I remember phones were so expensive back then that if you lived just in one city, say for instance Chicago, big city, they would charge you almost like it's almost like a long distance charge if you were like on the south side and you calling somebody up north. It's like it's the same city, but they inner city something. I forgot the term they called it on the phone bill, but you would be charged additional money just to call somebody further away from your city, not out of your city. And then don't let me get started on the long distance thing because you pay dearly for that. Then you whip out your cell phone and you can call somebody in China, you know, and not worried about looking at the bill. So you call somebody overseas and you know, so I'm glad to see that improvement. Number four. Okay. Young folks not falling in love, just having sex and having kids. That's so unfortunate. I mean, I don't know where to start with that one. You know, when I was born, my mother was married to my daddy, and my daddy lived with us. You know, now fast forward 30, 40 years now, most of these kids are born into unwedlock. Yeah, born into wedlock. Their daddy don't live with them. And maybe some other guy that's called their mother's boyfriend. Several of those, you know, guys are living throughout this young man's or this child's life. I'm so fortunate. I like to think that being a child of the 60s, it was a good era. I can understand that era because now, like I said, I feel sorry for the majority of these young guys. You know, their daddy didn't grow up with them. And, you know, you got some women. I'm not bashing the women because it takes two to create the situation. You know, if you're a man and you're not in love with this woman, don't have any kids with her. Please don't. You know, I'm not saying not have sex. You know, you can do that. Just make sure you're protected. You know, but you have sex, no condom on, and here comes the baby. Y'all no longer together. Now this child has to grow up with mama, who's usually only 17 years younger than him or older than him. And now the person that's supposed to kind of keep it, the foundation, grandmama, 80-year-old grandmama is still a daddy. You know, so that's why it's so fucked up out here now. You know, and we don't want to address the root issue because that's the root issue. You know, we want to deal with the surface issue. Or he out there getting in trouble. But why? Because there's nobody at home to whoop his ass and scare him into doing the right thing. You know, it worked for me and the generation before me and the generation before me. You know, I didn't do anything that I thought I was going to get my ass whooped for. I was terrified from mama or daddy. Fear was a good thing. And still, I don't fear nothing now. You know, mama just 17 years older than me, and I'm 6 feet tall now, you know. You know, she's a pushover, you know. If there was anything on this planet that I wish I could change, it would be that. Because that has triggered all this other stuff. All these young guys, 12, 17 years old, taking cars. Cars. Heavyweight crimes now. You know, the worst thing that a 17-year-old could have done back in the day was maybe steal a bicycle or steal candy from the store. Instead of strong arm robbery, assault, sexual assault, you know? I should probably do a whole video on this one, but I'm going to move on now. Okay, number 5. Music people getting worse. Let me try to, because I kind of scribbled this down here. I should have read this before I got on the air. Music. People getting worse on instruments and reading music. There you go. That's what it was. The music was kind of a parentheses thing or the topic. I mean, what can I say? I can play. I can read. I can write. You know, back in the 50s, musicians could play well, read, write. Fast forward to 2010, you know, I think it started probably around then, maybe earlier. One-hand players. Guys just on piano playing with one hand. And what they're playing is a sample. I'll never forget, I seen this on TV about maybe a year ago. I almost fell out of my chair. Kanye West, who's actually almost a billionaire. How, I don't know. You know, but that's another story. He was in Chicago, and I guess he was doing some kind of spiritual thing, and he was on piano, and he's playing with one hand. And he's playing a sample. Like, what kind of shit is this? Play or don't play? You're not playing. All you're doing is triggering somebody else's music. It was embarrassing to see that. I'm like, wow, have we shrunk that low that we doing this? Instead of this and reading? Apparently so, you know. And that tends to be the thing now. And you don't have to know how to play an instrument, you know. Now you got that thing called a MIDI pack where you get other talented players and use their stuff. Huh? That was unheard of in the 70s. You know, Maze didn't go somewhere and get other people's music and played it and sang over it. They played and created their own music. And that's been going on for decades or centuries up until now. Now you got people that want to be in the music industry but don't know how to play. You know, they relying on other people's samples. It's so unfortunate. I mean, it's really so unfortunate. Like I told you, and I'll probably say this throughout this video, I'm very thankful that I grew up in the era that I did. I learned so much growing up, you know, as opposed to, again, I can't play and I'm sampling other people's music and I want to call myself a musician. No, you're not. You're just some dude using some other creative, talented dude's stuff, you know. But, you know, that's the age-old debate. As you get older, you kind of criticize the new stuff and you claim that your stuff was better. And the difference between that is, like I said, my dad and myself, you know, my dad liked Coltrane and Billy Eckstine. I like Marvin Gaye and Rick James. And he would criticize the new stuff. But the new stuff was still talented stuff. It was just different. You know, so I can understand my dad having that issue. It didn't sound like his stuff, but those guys that I like were still talented musicians. Not like of today. Well, again, one dude, one finger, and somebody else's sample. And using computers, because I'm going to say this because this was funny. I was looking at a concert. It might have been, I forgot what artist. You know, just for the sake of the story, say, for instance, it was Confunction. And Confunction got down in the day. And one guy commented, he said, young folks of today would probably say this, what are those things they're holding, which are instruments? Where are the DJs and the computers? So I'm like, I can relate to that because that's what it has come down to, you know, computerized and cut and paste and stuff and still just playing the thing. And then when you mess up, you start all over and play it again. You know, on hit records back in the day, it was customary for you to have done maybe 30 takes on one song. you know, to get it right, get it tight. You know, instead of this computer stuff, I can go in there and just cut that little bad part out and just keep going, you know. And it sounds like it's pieced together. But anyway, I'm going to move on. Oh, number 6, people stealing your packages. I never thought I would see the day that when the mailman comes, if you don't meet him at the door or just shortly after he done delivered your shit, somebody else shows up that you don't know. Or maybe you do know and take your shit off your porch. They don't even know what's in the box, you know. One guy said on his channel, he said he would have loved to have seen the faces on these people, because he got that ringtone. These 2 young girls came up on his porch and took a box with nothing in the box but empty hangers. You know, have we resorted to that? And then it's the girls too. You know, back in the day, girls rarely ever committed crimes. Now they're killing, they're stealing, they're cheating. It's like, what happened to the feminine young woman? And still now, I got a beef with somebody on Facebook and I'm going to show up and try to stab them. These are women, girls, not dudes, but the girls are doing this now. It's just a sad state of affairs now. And the last one, let me see. I don't know, so sloppy here. It is. I don't even know what that is. It's my doctor handwriting. But anyway, I just thought I would, you know, humor you guys with my list, because I'm sure you guys have a list too. Matter of fact, if you got time, leave a comment down here and leave me your list. Things that you thought you would never see in your lifetime, you know. I'm still trying to read this. I don't know. But anyway, and the carjacking thing, you know, it's like I never thought that, and the shooting on the expressway, it's like, what is this, the Wild Wild West with cars instead of horses? That was one place that you were safe, on the expressway. You're moving fast. You're trying to get to where you're going. You know, the worst case scenario, of course, is an accident. Somebody hits you or something like that. But now worrying about driving 60, 70 miles an hour and getting shot at or shot. You know, people rolling down their windows on the expressway shooting. And a lot of times these are random people that they're shooting at. It's not somebody that they got a beef with and they wait for that moment to get them. It's like, I'm going to end it with this statement again. I'm very fortunate that I grew up in the era that I did. Things were a little more civilized, a little more stable. People cared about each other. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to sign off. When I grew up, everybody on my block we knew. Everybody. We had a block club. We got together. You know, we helped look out to everybody else's kids. Now I live on the block. I only know 3 people because everybody else kind of don't want to be bothered. You know, you see them, they're like strangers, but they live just down a couple of houses away. It's like, that's so sad that it's like that. You know, my neighbor that lived next door to me, because he moved in recently, he don't even want to speak to me. I'm like, okay. Because I mean, one day I came out to get my mail and I seen him and I was gesturing, you know, good morning. He looked at me and kind of looked down because he was on the phone. So, and then walked off like he didn't want to be bothered. I'm like, fine, you know. But yet he wakes me up at 7 o'clock in the morning cutting his grass. You know, he's a fanatic. My nickname for him is called Lawn Freak, because I mean, every other day he's mowing his grass, watering his grass, cutting his grass. And the mail lady, who's as sweet as she can be, sometimes she kind of cut through the grass to get to the next house. I don't have a problem with her trucking through there. I'm like, I don't love that grass. I keep it cut and keep it presentable for the sake of being presentable. That's it. You know, but I'm not out there every other day cutting it, watering it. And he just recently put some signs up that says, keep off the grass. And I knew who was that for. I'm like, really, man? This woman is delivering you stuff and you tripping on grass, you know? It's a whole nother world out there now. It's not a world that I'm too happy to be a part of anymore. Because I think as you get older, you start to notice that kicks in. You know, it's like, it's totally unrecognizable from the world that I knew just 20 years ago, when everybody spoke to each other. We were civil to each other. We weren't as violent as towards each other, you know. You see trash, I mean, literally McDonald's or whatever thrown in the middle of the street. I'm like, you on your way home, take your trash with you. Why would you roll your window down in your neighborhood too and throw shit in the street? You know, you get to the point, you say to yourself, I'm not picking it up because that's not my job. I didn't put that shit there. And I'm not going to be everybody else's groundkeeper. You know, but I'm going to say this because it's personal. Once my wife retires, we going somewhere. That's already been established. I'm not even going to mention where we're going, but it's going to be away from people like this. Because my last days on earth, I don't want them to be in memories of how it got so fucked up. You know, it's like, no, I didn't work that hard all my life to end it on a bad note. It's like in the movies. Happy ending, baby. You know, that's what I want. And still, I die around a bunch of people that don't give a shit about nobody else but themselves. You know, that's not going to be my ending. You know, that's not going to be my ending or our ending. So until next time, take care. Thanks for listening and watching.